Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Meade with Domicile Real Estate, and I wanted to make a little bit of a different kind of video. If you are used to watching our videos, you'll know that we mostly do market updates and sort of sometimes we do some architectural videos. And I wanted to share something that came up this week because I'm not wowed very often in this business anymore. I show tons of houses. I'm in tons of houses all the time. I have seen tons of houses. And one of the things that's going on right now is if you're a buyer in Southern California, LA, Orange County, especially, most of these areas are built out. And if you want a traditional single family home, and what I mean by that is like a house with a yard that's detached, you're going to be looking at an older property. And that means you're going to be looking at a lot of homes that are flips, especially at that entry level end of the market. You're going to see a lot of flipped single family homes. And most of the time, I'm going to be honest, these houses are not great. They either have problems with design, problems with workmanship, or both. So you can imagine my surprise when this week I showed a house that I think has the absolute best kitchen I have ever seen on an entry level flip. And I thought it would be useful to kind of go over this and explain why that is. Even if you're not looking at a flip, maybe this is something that you can use a little bit in your own home search, or even if you're already a homeowner and it's just something you want to see to sort of understand what can I do with my kitchen that's cost effective. And that's what's important to remember, right? Is that this is on an entry level flip. So the photo that I am going to show you is for a home and a kitchen that was priced under $1.2 million for a detached home over 1,300 square feet. So bear that in mind. So the first thing I think you're going to notice with this kitchen is that it doesn't look plain. And one of the issues that you come across on flips is a lot of times people are trying to value engineer. Value engineering is a very nice term that is often used by architects, designers, investors. It basically means you start with something that's really good and then you find ways to make it cheaper. And you see a lot of that in flips. And what I love about this kitchen is this kitchen does not feel like it was value engineered. So I want to identify a couple things that are happening. So first off, I want to start with functionality. And this might seem like an obvious one, but I've been in a lot of flipped kitchens that don't feel like they were designed for actual people who are going to use them, meaning they're short on counter space, they are short on storage space, or frankly, they just don't have like the minimal effort and areas and things that you would need. And this kitchen has a great design for functionality. So first off, you've got a sink that is underneath a window. Always like to see that. You've also got an area with a stove that has a lot of area on either side of it. This is actually really important. If you've ever actually cooked on a stove, you'll know this. You need space on either side. But I think the most important functional element, or rather functional elements in this kitchen, there are two things that to me really stick out in this kitchen that make a huge difference. And the first one is that you've got it open to the main living area. So the opening for this kitchen is huge. And the reason why this is important is people want to feel connected to the kitchen. The number one complaint I get when people go through older homes is they will say, the kitchen feels closed off. It feels claustrophobic. It feels like a prison cell that the chef has to work in. Nobody wants kitchens like those in 2026. So what they've done is they've made an extra wide open kitchen here. And that really gives you a lot of access to the main living areas of this home. It also helps the home feel bigger. 1,300 square feet or so is not a large house, but this house felt spacious. The second functional thing that I think is incredibly important is the size of that kitchen island. So if you don't do a lot of entertaining, I'm going to let you in on a little bit of a secret. If you invite people over to your home, they will all end up standing in the kitchen. This is pretty much a given. I don't care where you are in the country or where you are even within Orange County. If you're in Anaheim, Fullerton, Tustin, South County, North County, Long Beach, does not matter. Invite people over to your home, they will stand around the kitchen. And so what this island does is it gives you a really versatile space to do a lot of things. People can stand around and talk. You can set up things to serve. Kids can do homework on it. There's just a bunch of possibilities with an island like this. And so I want to applaud them for doing a large island because that involves using a larger slab. The next thing I want to talk about that makes this kitchen a home run is texture. And they've really chosen a lot of textures. And I think if you pick just one or two textures, you end up with a kitchen that just feels kind of plain and generic. It feels bland. But there's a bunch of things going on in this kitchen, but they all work cohesively together. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the wainscoting paneling. So if you look on the side of that picture, you're going to see that next to that door. This is a wall paneling that they actually threw without, and it gives you this kind of nice trim. That could have just been a plain wall there, but it's not a plain wall. It's actually something cool. And if you look closely on the ceiling, you're going to see that they actually did a beadboard type ceiling as well. So you've kind of got that V-groove paneling on the ceiling of this kitchen, and that really adds a lot of interest. The other thing you're going to see is what they did in the backsplash. So I will tell you the cheapest way to make a kitchen is you can simply use your countertop material and do a 6-inch backsplash. In fact, they sell this stuff really cheap. So if you ever see that in a kitchen, that 6-inch backsplash, that's exactly what that is. And then the rest of it is just drywall. It's boring. It doesn't look nice. It's not very elevated. What they did here was super, super cool. They actually did an extra tall backsplash made out of the same countertop material. This helps the space feel larger, right? But then above that, they didn't just leave us with plain drywall. They actually used a textured tile going to the ceiling. So when you look at this picture, you've really got a lot of things happening. You have that kind of beadboard texture. You've got that beautiful textured tile that runs the top of the walls. And then you've got the wood flooring texture as well. So you've got a lot of cool textures. And then, of course, you have the countertops. And I want to talk about these countertops for a second because I think the investor and the flipper made an incredibly smart choice when they picked this countertop. So this countertop is a quartz material, and quartz, there's actually two types of quartz. There is quartz and quartzite. And quartz is a man-made material that is made from quartz dust and other materials, and it's pressed together in a mold. Quartzite is a lot like granite. It comes out of the ground, they cut out big slabs, and then they polish them. This material is technically a hybrid of both. Well, not exactly. This is what looks to be Taj Mahal quartzite. It's a very famous quartzite pattern. It is elegant, it has beautiful veining, but it isn't actually Taj Mahal quartzite. What it is it is quartz with a Taj Mahal print on it. And by doing that, this is much the same technology that's used to make the porcelain tiles that look like marble. It's really the same technology that they've used, but it lets you do something amazing. In this home, if you wanted to use real Taj Mahal quartzite, there would not be enough in the budget to do it. You wouldn't be doing a huge island like this with waterfall edges. You wouldn't be running the Taj Mahal up the backsplash like 2 or 3 feet like this. I think it's like 2.5 or 3 feet. You wouldn't be doing any of that if you were buying real Taj Mahal. So what they did is they got a material that in person looks 95% as good, but by saving that money on the material, it let them use it in a lot of different places. And that's a huge home run. The next thing I want to talk about is lighting in this kitchen. So lighting is a huge deal in a kitchen, and you really need different types of lighting. So I think the temptation in almost every flipper when they redo a kitchen is pop in 4 can lights and call it a day. This is what you get in almost every home, probably up to about $2 million. You start to see just the 4 can lights. This home actually has 4 types of lighting in it, right? So we've got the can lights, which you see are in the center of the kitchen. You've got these task lights that are on either side of the stove, right? Like these sconces. And I actually think these are super cool because not only are they visually impressive and they give you some interest, but they also sort of highlight the area where you're going to be working the most, right? On either side of that stove. Then you've also got this lighting that is over the island, right? And this is very decorative lighting. The thing I love about the lighting in this kitchen is it doesn't look like somebody bought what was on sale at Home Depot. You know it. You've been to Home Depot. I've been to Home Depot. You walk in, and on the end of an aisle, there's a gigantic display of some kind of light fixture, and it'll say special buy $39 or something like that. If you're looking for a place to splurge in a kitchen with a little bit of jewelry, I would rather spend that money on the lighting because you're going to see it a lot more than spend it on the handles. And so to me, lighting is like the jewelry in a kitchen, and they've done an excellent job. And then there's also the fourth type of lighting in this kitchen, which is that toe kick lighting that really kind of sets the mood. And I think it's not something you expect in a home priced under $1.2 million in Orange County. Like, you're just not thinking you're going to get those kinds of features. And so by doing that, they've really sort of elevated the level of this kitchen. The other thing I want to talk about with a kitchen like this is that they've done a bunch of extras. These are little things that you didn't have to do, but they make a really big difference. So first off, right, when we're talking about little extras, is that toe kick lighting. That just is a bonus. You weren't expecting to get it. You didn't think you were going to get it, but here it is. The other thing that's something that's a bit of an extra feature in this kitchen is you'll notice there's a pot filler in back of the stove. Now, admittedly, that pot filler is a little high, and I think that's the only mistake they made in this kitchen. But again, that's another thing that's a little bit extra. So is the beadboard treatment on the ceiling. These are all little things. And then finally, a place where they splurged a little bit was on this vent hood. So this is a feature you typically only see in higher end homes, and it's called a vent hood insert. So basically the metal part with the fan is inside of what looks to be a very decorative wooden plaster feature, and it creates a focal point above the stove on that wall. These things matter. And, finally, there's one other little extra that I love in this kitchen. I almost forgot to talk about it, and that's the archway that defines the entry to the kitchen. This could have just been an open space, right? But they've done something that beautifully frames the kitchen, and it adds that gentle curve that's sort of mimicked by those island sort of extra large pendant fixtures that you see hanging over the island. Really, it's a genius move. They've given us a kitchen that's cohesive, it's elevated, it is functional. It sort of has all the things that you'd really want in a dream kitchen, but this is done to a price point. They've just made really smart moves with what they've done. And anyhow, I just wanted to share this. I don't come across a lot of things that are exceptional that I see when I'm out showing houses, but this one really did it for me. I thought it was a great move and a great achievement to get this done at this price point. As always, thank you so much for watching. Questions, comments, as always, we love them. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And as always, if you or someone you know needs our help in the Southern California area buying or selling residential real estate, we would absolutely love to lend you our expertise. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again real soon.